අයිබෝවන් හැමෝටම අද තියෙන්නේ accounting seminar එක. ඉතින් අද අපිත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා ඉන්න උසස් පෙළ වාණිජ්‍යාංශයෙන් ඉගෙනීම් කටයුතු කරන ගුරු මහත්ම මහත්මීන්වත් ඒ වගේම වාණිජ්‍යාංශයෙන් උසස් පෙළ හදාරන අපේම සහෝදර සහෝදරියන්වත් අපි බොහෝම ආදරෙන් අද සෙමිනාර් එකට පිළිගන්නවා. ඒ වගේම අද අපිත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා ඉන්නේ වරලත් ගණකාධිකාරී කළමනාකරන ගණකාධිකාරී ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ කතිකාචාර්ය අෂාන් මාටිනෝ. එහෙනම් මේ ආරාධනය ඉසට ආයිබෝවන් සර්.
Everyone, Subha Sandhya කියලා සියලු දෙනාටම ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. So I'm warmly welcome you all, and I'll be sharing my screen. Give me a minute. I hope am I audible to you all? Can you just let me know whether you can hear me and see my screen? Can you allow me? Okay, give me a minute. Just a minute. I'm just checking whether the screen is sharing with you all.
We can see, sir.
Good. Thanks a lot. Appreciate for feedback. Okay. I'm Lester Martino. I'm chartered accountant and chartered management accountant, and I'll be lecturing since 2003 relating to the subjects pertaining to management accounting and financial accounting for CIMA chartered and CMA lectures. And the experience I gathered over the period of 10 years, or probably 15 years, I'm figuring out this is the kind of a topic that most of the students are struggling with. So I hope by doing this type of a seminar, you will understand the correct concept and how to manage the time during your exam, and how to get the correct approach, because most of the students are struggling in accounting. Number one, they don't have a knowledge. Number two, they don't know how to manage the time. Okay, so first you need to understand the concept well, and you need to apply that knowledge over the period of time, and then you need to manage your time. Very, very important. As far as your A-levels are concerned, the paper one, most of the students are struggle. So basically, some students who got 200 out of 200 from your paper two, they might not able to get roughly 70 or out of 100, 70 or 60 in between, even though they really score good marks from their paper two, still they can get A's. But what I'm saying is you need to target a good score. So if you get a good score above 90, your island rank, you might easily get a good island score, score, so that it leads to a good island rank and district rank. Okay. So I warmly welcome all the teachers, and they share this type of a seminar series. So to enhance your students' knowledge, and basically, so it is a free seminars that we trying to improve your knowledge and your get a good score in your coming exam. Okay? Even though the exam is dragged, so don't think about that. It's a kind of a negative attitude, to have a negative attitude about the exam. Have everything in a plus point, and make sure you spend your time wisely, and if every minute counts for your final grade. So please do study, have a proper plan, and practice your past papers, practice your model papers by your own. Why I say so? Because you're the one who are planning to sit for your exams, no one else. So it is your baby. It is your duty to focus on this exam. You have 4 more months to go. So make sure you use this time wisely, right? So the topic that we are going to cover is break-even analysis, okay? And for that understanding, we need to get the cost of production and how you divide this cost into different segments. Those things we learn, and then we move for cost volume profit analysis. Okay, right. So based on the cost behavior, we can divide the whole cost into two segments. Number one is variable cost, other one is fixed cost. We'll look at this example here. So Jason Inc. produced stereo sound system under the brand name of J-Sound. The parts of the stereo are purchased from an outside supplier for 10 rupees each. Clear? So it is considered as a variable cost. So when it comes to the graph, so you have two types of graph. One is total cost, other one is cost per unit. So cost, if you produce 10,000 units, your total cost is 100,000. If you produce 20,000 units, your total cost is 200,000. If you produce 30,000 units, your total cost is 300,000. That means when the unit produce increases over the period of time, what will happen? The total cost will also increase at the same proportion. So that is called variable cost. So cost which is vary with the level of output we call variable cost. Clear? So when the level of output increases, the total cost also vary with the level of output. So that is called total cost graph. Now we come to cost per unit graph. So irrespective of the units you produce, even though you produce 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, the cost per unit remain at 10 rupee per unit. So direct material cost is 10 rupee per unit. So we assume there is no quantity discounts available from your supplier. Clear? So we assume that if you are buying bulk, normally when it comes to the economics, you will learn that one. If you purchase bulk, you might get a kind of a price reduction. That's we call discount. But here we assume there is no discount available, whatever quantity you purchase. So hence, the cost per unit remain constant. So far we learned two type of graph. One is total cost graph, other one is cost per unit graph. Is it clear this part? Cost per unit remains same irrespective of the number of units you produce. So how you calculate the total direct material cost? Units into per material, direct material cost per unit. Everyone is clear on that? How you derive these two graphs, total cost graph versus cost per unit graph. So this is called variable cost. So normally when it comes to variable cost, direct material cost is assumed to be variable. Direct labor cost assumed to be variable. Royalty cost assumed to be variable. So those type of costs which are vary with level of output is called variable. Let's move to the next concept. It's called fixed cost. The production supervisor for Minton Inc. Los Angeles plant is J.V. Sovisi. She is paid $75,000 per year. So the plant produces 50,000 to 300,000 bottles of perfume. So irrespective of the quantity they produced, her salary is fixed or remain constant at 75,000 rupees. Clear? So whether you produce 0 units, 50,000, 100,000, 150,000, 200,000 or 250 or 300,000, her salary remain constant. So that is called fixed cost. So with these two numbers, we can derive fixed cost per bottle, or we call salary per bottle. So what do you do? So if you want to calculate salary per bottle, what you do is you take this number, divide by this figure. Cost divide by number of unit produced. Hence, you can calculate 75,000 divided by 50,000, 1.5. 75,000 divided by 100,000, 0.75. That is 75 cents, 50 cents, 37 cents, 30 cents, and 25 cents. So what is the relationship? When the level of output increases, the cost per unit will decrease. Clear? The cost per unit will decrease. So let's look at the graphs pertaining to this scenario. So total cost graph, I told you earlier, the total variable cost graph and the total fixed cost graph. So we'll go back and figure out the values and the graph. So it's increasing. The total cost graph is increasing, but the cost per unit graph constant. Now we come to this. This is total graph. So 75,000, it remained constant at 75,000. Cost per unit graph, it decreasing. Yeah. So I hope you have an understanding of how you figure out whether it's a total cost graph or per unit cost graph. So based on this, you figure out this is a fixed cost. And based on per unit cost, you figure out this also a fixed cost. So probably when it comes to the A-level paper, question number 28 or 29 will come from this area, MCQ questions. And structured question number 49 is come from this area. So make sure from paper 1, you might get 2 or 3 questions from this area that we're going to discuss today. Right. We'll move on to the next concept that we call mixed cost. So what do you mean by mixed cost? Mixed cost is a combination of all fixed and variable elements. Make it fixed cost එකක් තියෙනවා, variable cost එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ දෙකේම combination එකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ mixed cost කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා semi variable cost. එහෙම නැත්නම් semi fixed cost. Yeah? Right. So if you get a question like this, if you get a scenario of mixed cost, the graph sometimes go like this, or probably it might go like this even. Okay? It might go like this even. So this is a fixed part. Let's take an example. If you take your Mobitel bill or Dialog bill, there are 2 components. One is call charges. That means that will vary with the number of minutes you spend for calling. So that is called variable. If you increase the number of minutes you call, the total call charges will increase. So it's a kind of a variable behavior. In addition to that, you will pay the rental. That's a rental cost, which is fixed, irrespective of whether you take the calls or not. You need to pay that fixed amount. Probably 300 package, you pay 300 rupees per month. If it is a 500 package, you pay 500 per month. So when it comes to the bill, how the bill consists of? The bill consists of both 2 fixed element. Number 2 is variable element. So when you get a question of mixed cost, so how you separate it out? How you separate how much is your variable cost per unit? How much is your fixed cost? That need to be done in order to make a viable management decision. So this is a kind of a topic which is come from your management accounting area. So if you take grade 13 syllabus, you have company accounting, you have accounting standards, and the remaining portion mainly targeting your management accounting area. So you have your direct material cost, you have your direct labor cost, you have your overheads, you have done your overhead analysis sheets, and based on that you calculate the overhead cost of cost departments, apportionment of service center into the cost center, that's called reapportionment. And then you figure out the absorption part and you establish the overhead cost per unit, hence the cost per unit. And then you add a markup and then you come up with the selling price. That's basically the costing part. And then what you do is you need to analyze based on the behavior, this cost is variable or this cost is fixed. Clear? for analysis. Right. So when it comes to this mixed cost, there is a method called high-low method that simply separate the mixed cost into variable and fixed elements. Let's look at this example. So they have given kind of information, number of units and total cost incurred, number of units produced for each month and the total cost incurred corresponding to each month. So when you get a question like this, the first step is you need to figure out in which month you have a higher level of production and in which month you have the lower level of production. So can you tell me the answer, or can you put it in the chat box, which month you have a high level of production, which month you have a lower level of production? Obviously, in August, you have produced 2,100 units. And the corresponding cost during the month of August is 61,500. And in October, the lower level of production 750 and corresponding cost is 41,250. Please write this down. Variable cost per unit equal cost at a higher level of activity minus cost at a lower level of activity divided by changes in units. Divide by changes in units. So we select August and October. Make activities take August and October. You get a question like this. The first step is highest level of activity and corresponding cost, and the lowest level of activity and corresponding cost. So then you need to calculate the value. The numerator is the difference between the cost. When the cost difference the numerator. Denominator is this difference. Denominator is this difference. So can you calculate based on this what is the value? Variable cost. Everyone, please try. That is called variable cost. You are allowed to use calculators, so please use calculators in deriving the answers. Very, very important. Highest level of activity in rupees minus lowest level of activity in rupees. Divide by highest level of activity minus lowest level of activity. So 61,500 minus corresponding activity is 2,100 minus. So 61,500 minus 41,250. Eka bedan none 2,100 minus 750. What is the answer? So you need to take the separate values. Cost difference. The answer should be 50. Is it clear? So that is called variable cost per unit. That is called variable cost per unit. Right. Now, මේ ආපු 15 අපි apply කරනවා either in August or October. And variable cost per unit rupees 15 should apply for the month of August. Should apply for the month of August. August වල කීයක් produce කරලා තියෙනවද? August වල produce කරලා තියෙනවා 2100. But how we calculate the total variable cost? එකක variable cost එක 15. August වල produce කරලා තියෙනවා 2100. So 15 into 2100 gives you total variable cost. කොහොමද අපි total variable cost එක calculate කරන්නේ? එකක variable cost එක වැඩි කරනවා number of units you produce. So how we calculate the variable cost per unit? You take the variable cost per unit into number of units you produce. Is it clear? හරිද? Right. So the August වල total cost එක කීයද? 61500. August වල total cost එක 61500. හරිද? Variable cost එක වෙලා තියෙනවා total 15 into 2100. Can you use this calculation or formula and tell me how much is your fixed cost? 15 into 2100, answer is 31,500. 61,500 minus 31,500, fixed cost is 30,000. ඒක හරිද? ඒක තේරුණා. අතන ආපු උත්තරය අපි apply කරනවා total cost equal total variable cost plus fixed cost. ඒ equation එකට. Number of units multiplied by variable cost, you get the total variable cost. Total cost again, total variable cost එක අඩු වුණාම අපිට එනවා fixed cost. හරි. එතකොට කීයද monthly fixed cost එක? 30,000. We'll apply the same thing for the month of October and calculate the fixed cost. The October month එකේ total cost එක 41,250. October වල කීයක් හදලා තියෙනවද? 750 හදලා තියෙනවා. එහෙනම් එකක variable cost එක 15. So 15 into 750, you get the total variable cost, which is 11,250. The fixed cost එක එනවා 30,000. ඒක clear. So the fixed cost එකෙන් කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Fixed cost එකෙන් කියන්නේ irrespective of the month, the level of production, the cost remain constant. ඒක ජනවාරිද, ජූලිද, ඕගස්ට්, සෙප්ටැම්බර්, ඔක්තෝබර්ද වැදගත් නැහැ. You need to incur this cost. Whether you produce or not, it's called fixed cost. ඒක හරිද? හරි. Shall we do a kind of a calculation question? Can you write this down, this question? Can you see the screen, everyone? Right. Please write this down. ABC Limited provides following information. April, May. Units produced, total cost 10,000. Required variable cost per unit, cost per month, and estimated total cost. Estimated total cost for the month of plan I'll give you 10 minutes time. Everyone, please try this question. මෙතනදී production levels දෙකක් තියෙනවා 10,000 produce කරද්දී total cost එක 150,000 15,000 produce කරද්දී total cost එක 30,000 equations දාලා calculate කරන්න variable cost එක කීයද fixed cost එක කීයද per month and estimated cost of හැමෝම try කරන්න. වැරදුනට කමක් නැහැ. Your objective is to make mistakes so that you need to learn from the mistakes. හැමෝම කරන්න. I'll write down the formula for you. Variable cost per unit equal changes in cost divided by changes in volume. And the total cost එක vary වෙනවා 200,000 minus 150,000 over 15,000 minus 10,000. So 50,000 divided by 5,000. Consistent. Is it clear, everyone? ඒක තේරෙනවද අපු හැටි? Yeah, very good. Variable cost per unit එක 10. හරිද? Now we will use for the month of April. Month of April. Then the formula total cost equal TC equal EVC plus fixed cost. මේ formula එක ලියන්න හැම පාරක්. එතකොට April වල total cost එක වෙලා තියෙනවා 150,000. So ලියන්න 150,000. Equal. So April වල කීයක් produce කරාද 10,000. 10,000 into 10 plus fixed cost. Cost එක තියෙනවා. දැන් හැමෝම කරන්න ඕනේ. Please try to involve rather than copying Boots or whatever my workings, because you're the one who planning to do exam, so make sure you work on it. So 10,000 into 10, 100,000. This is basic mathematics. Okay, nothing. It's not a rocket science. So FC is equal 150 minus 10,000. So answer is it. Clear the amount. So fixed cost is 50,000. Clear the Harry? Right. Now number 3. So each month you need to incur whether you produce or not. Fixed cost take a 50,000. Third one. Now they have given for the month of June. Here estimated කරලා තියෙනවද 20000ක් produce කරනවා. යන්න TC equal EC equal TVC plus FC. EC equal TVC plus FC. එතකොට ජූන් වල කීයක් හදනවද? හදනවා 20000. එතකොට එකක variable cost එක 10, fixed cost එක කීයද? ඒකට add කරනවා fixed cost එක. ඊට fixed cost එක අපිට ආවේ answer for part 2 50,000. මෙතන එනවා 200,000. මෙතන එනවා 50,000. So answer is 250,000. Is it clear, everyone? ඒකම තේරුණා? The first scenario එකේදී අපි calculate කරේ variable cost per unit එක. ඒක base කරගෙන අපි calculate කරා fixed cost per month. එතකොට given activity කියන්නේ future activity එකක් දීලා ඒකට අදාළ total cost එක අහනවා. එතකොට අපි දන්නවා variable cost එක කීයද කියලා, අපි දන්නවා fixed cost එක කීයද කියලා. Variable cost එක number of units වලින් වැඩි කරනවා ඒ month එකට අදාළව June වල, that is 20,000. Then you get the total variable cost. ඒකට fixed cost එක add කරාම එනවා total cost. Okay, tamai mixed cost එක basically probably you might get a one question. හරි ඒකින්ද practice වෙලා යන්න. Management accounting අමාරු නෑ financial accounting වගේ. Management accounting වල application එක තියෙන බොහෝ වෙලා. ඒකින්ද මේක ලේසි. අනික එක time එක consume වෙන්නේ නෑ හිතන තරම්. It's easy to get an answer. Okay, හරි. We move to the presentation now. So the summary to what we learned so far. So variable cost which is vary with the level of output. Unit variable cost per unit remains same. Fixed cost remains same. Total cost per unit is decreased when the level of output increases. Okay, let's look at the cost volume profit relationship. Right. Now, I hope everyone has done so far company accounting. The company accounting wala you okay company accounting wala ogulunta thina format එකක් follow කරන්න as per the LKS1. As per the LKS1 you need to first start from the revenue. The revenue එකෙන් අඩු කරනවා cost of sales. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට එනවා gross profit. Gross profit එකට add කරනවා other income. පස්සේ ඒකට අපි අඩු කරනවා ඒකින් අඩු කරනවා what do you call distribution expenses, establishment expenses, other cost and financial cost. ඔය තුන අඩු කරාන් පස්සේ තමයි එන්නේ net profit එක. The kind of a challenging structure. But when it comes to the costing, how you deriving the profit is very simple. It's very simple. Rapi, based on the behavior, the costs are classified into two sections. One is variable, other one is fixed. So revenue total variable cost. Total variable cost එක අඩු වුණා minus cost of sales equal gross profit වගේ. මෙතන කියන්නේ gross profit නෙමෙයි. Revenue එකෙන් අපි අඩු කරනවා variable cost එක, cost which is vary with the level of output. ඒ answer එකට අපි කියනවා contribution, total contribution. ඊට ඒ total contribution එකකින් අපි අඩු කරනවා fixed cost to arrive at profit. ඕක තමයි marginal income statement. Marginal costing base කරගෙන හදන income statement. Very kind of a straightforward. අර වගේ standards prescribed වෙන්නේ නැහැ management accounting වලදී. It's based on the management discretion. Okay? කියන්නේ format එකක් කියලා නැහැ. management එකේ decision making වලට facilitate කරන්න පුළුවන් විදිහට තමයි income statement එක හදන්නේ. So to start with sales minus variable cost, you derive the contribution. So it's a kind of a new term that you need to learn. So total contribution, එකෙන් අපි අඩු කරනවා fixed cost එක, then you come up with the profit. So if you take this diagram, මෙතන contribution එක එනවා, that is the difference between sales and variable cost. So මේ තියෙන basket එක පිරුණායින් පස්සේ any surplus we consider as a profit. ඔක concept එක. So the contribution is available to cover fixed cost and profit. Okay, so I hope you have a clear understanding on this concept. Then අපි එනවා එක එක calculations. Okay, can you keep write this down, these formulas? So sales equal variable cost plus fixed cost plus profit from operation. ඒ තුනේම තමයි consist වෙන්නේ sales කියන්නේ. හරිද? Right. And then sales minus variable cost. Now we come to the very important concept that is called contribution. I know some people might not have the electricity. We might Nanapower, these people will upload this. It's already there in the YouTube. So if you have time, you can revisit and you can watch this one again and again. The clear picture of this whole concept. හරි electricity නැති අයට සමහරලාට පස්සේ වුණත් බලන්න පුළුවන් මේ program එක. Okay? So this doing for the good faith to improve to uplift your knowledge. මේක හරිද ලියාගත්තද කොහොමද? Only just write the formulas. Rest is nothing. All the numbers are, don't worry about it. Now we are trying to derive the certain ratios, so we call a margin ratio. So write it down, CS ratio. CS ratio, that we call contribution margin ratio. CS. C කියලා කියන්නේ contribution, S කියලා කියන්නේ sales. Contribution margin ratio equal total contribution over total sales rupees. Contribution margin ratio, CS ratio equal total contribution over total sales. So මේ ගානට අනුව total contribution එක තියෙනවා 400,000. ඒක බෙදන්න ඕනේ total sales value එකකින් 1 million. So you get 0.4 or 40%. Okay. හරිද? So we have learned two concepts. First one is contribution. So how we calculate the contribution? Total sales minus total variable cost. දෙවෙනි එක CS ratio, එහෙම නැත්නම් contribution margin ratio එක. ඒක කොහොමද හොයන්නේ? Contribution එකේ value එක බෙදනවා total sales value 400,000 over 1 million. හරිද? So answer is 40%. Or you can calculate like this. ලියන්න contribution per unit. Contribution per unit over selling price per unit. Then in the mathematics part, then total sales value is 1 million. So 1 million divided 50,000 million. Here the value, selling price here, the unit selling price 20. 600,000 bedan 50,000 million. The variable cost 12. That is clear. සමහර information තියෙනවා implied. හරිද? exam එකේදී ඔයගොල්ලෝ තියෙන information base කරගෙන you need to come up with the solution. Total sales තියෙනවා 1 million and you have sold 50,000 units. ඒක base කරගෙන අපිට establish කරන්න පුළුවන් selling price එක මෙච්චරයි කියලා. Total variable cost එක 600,000. Sell කරලා තියෙනවා 50,000. ඒතර unit variable cost එක 12. Based on that, the contribution per unit is equal 8. CS ratio is equal contribution per unit over selling price per unit. contribution per unit over selling price per unit. හරිද? හරි. මම ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ ගුරු අත්පොතේ එක ගානකට යන්නම් so that we can get some understanding. මෙතන ගුරු අත්පොත එක ගානකට බලමු. හරි. Current sales units are 10,000 of a product which has a sales price of 200. When they're producing 200 units, total cost is 400,000. At 3,000 unit, total cost is 550,000. අපි මේ තියෙන information අපි jot down කරමු පොඩි note එකකට. Can you see both screen? ඔන්න දැන් screen දෙකම පේනවා. Okay, so we'll figure out the value units. Total cost. දැන් අර වගේම තමයි දැන් you need to link what you already learned. ඒගොල්ලෝ produce කරනවා 2000. Total cost එක කීයද 400,000. And they produce 3,000. Total cost එක කීයද 550,000. Right. So how we calculate the variable cost per unit? Equal changes in cost over changes in units. Changes over changes in units. So here for 550, 400, 150,000. 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. Variable cost එක 150. Is it clear everyone? Variable cost එක 150 නම් හරිද? Fixed cost එක කීයද? Can you try? අපි කරන්නේ මොකද්ද? For the month of, okay, we'll take this one. මේකට අපි apply කරමු first scenario. 2000ක් හදනවා. ඒතර total variable cost එක කීයද? 2000 into 150. It's called total variable cost, TVC. So 2000 into 1. The total cost එක කීයද? 400,000. මේ දෙකේ වෙනසට අපි කියනවා fixed cost. 100,000. Is it clear? මේක විකුණන්නේ කීයටද? මේක විකුණන්නේ selling price එක කියන්න selling price 200. Selling price එක 200, variable cost එක 150. එහෙනම් contribution එක කීයද? Contribution is equal to 50. Is it clear? Selling price එක 200 ඇදලා තියෙනවා. Variable cost එක අපි already calculate කරා 150. ඒ දෙකේ වෙනසට අපි කියනවා contribution per unit. CS ratio කියනවා. CS ratio 50 බෙදනවා 200. Answer is 0.2. You clear? 50 බෙදනවා 200 වලින් answer is 0.2. Okay, it's another kind of calculation that we need to perform. Let's write it down. What is break-even point? Lian. What is break-even point? Number one. Total revenue equal total cost. Total revenue equal total cost. Number 2. Profits equal 0. Profits or losses equal 0. Number 3. Total contribution equal total fixed cost. And number 3 කියන එක උගක් අයට අමතක වෙනවා. Total fixed cost equal total contribution. Right. Now let's look at this example here. The profit take a 0, fixed cost take a 90,000. The profit take a 0 now, fixed cost take a 90,000 now. Contribution එක කීයද? Total contribution එක 19,000. 90 වලින් 90 අඩු කරාම තමයි 0 වෙන්නේ profit. මෙතනදී කියනවා selling price එක 25 ලු, variable cost එක 15. selling price එක 25 නම් variable cost එක 15 නම් ඒ දෙකේ වෙනසට අපි කියන contribution කියලා ඒක 10. ලියන්න third formula එක ලියන්න break even in units equal fixed cost over contribution per unit. Fixed cost over contribution per unit. Then apply කරන්න formula එක. Fixed cost එක 90,000. Contribution per unit 10. එහෙනම් break even sales is 9,000. අපි apply කරලා බලමු. 9,000 produce කරලා sell කරනවා නම් revenue එක එනවා 225,000. Variable cost එක වෙනවා 15 into 9,000. 135. Contribution margin එක තියෙනවා එහෙනම් total contribution එක තියෙනවා 90,000. 90 වලින් 90 අඩු කරා profit එක clear හැමෝටම? Right. Can you do this question? Selling price එක 250. Unit variable cost එක 145. Sort of contribution එක කීයද? 105. Selling price එක 250. Variable cost එක 145. ඒ දෙකේ වෙනසට අපි කියනවා contribution per unit which is 105. Fixed cost එක කීයද? 840,000. 840,000 divide by 105, answer is 8,000. Is it clear the amount? Okay. 840,000 divide by 105, answer is 8,000. Right. දැන් අපි මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? එක එක variables අපි වෙනස් කර කර බලමු. එක එක variables අපි වෙනස් කර කර බලමු. ඒක එක එක variables අපි වෙනස් කර කර බලද්දී අපිට බලනවා මොකද්ද මේ break even එකට වෙන්නේ කියන එක. හරි, we'll have a look. Second scenario එකේදී අපි assume කරනවා කලින් තිබ්බේ 145 නේ variable cost එක. දැන් ඒක increase වෙනවා රුපියල් 5කින්. Now because these days you know inflation, no? It's not only inflation, it's basically hyperinflation. Hyperinflation එකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට always the raw material cost එකකින් වැඩි වුණාම අලුත් variable cost එක වෙන්නේ 150. හරිද? Variable cost එක රුපියල් 5කින් වැඩි වුණාම if it's increased by 5 rupees, the new variable cost or amended variable cost is 150. Hence the amended contribution per unit 100. So the fixed cost එක වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? Fixed cost එක 840,000 බෙදන්න ඕනේ 100 වලින්. එතකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ break even units වලට? කලින් තිබ්බේ කීයද break even එක? 8,000. Now variable cost එක increase වුණ ගමන්ම break even එකත් increase වෙනවා 8,400 වලට. නෝක පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න. වෙන්න පුළුවන් possible scenarios තින්නේ 6ක් තියෙනවා. So they might give information to calculate original break even point. ඊපස්සේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට කියන්න පුළුවන් selling prices increased by 10% or 20%. එහෙම නැත්නම් decreased by 10% or 20%. එහෙම නැත්නම් variable cost increased by 10% or 20%. එහෙම නැත්නම් fixed cost increased by 10% or 20%. ඒක බේස් කරගෙන new break even sales units ටික calculate කරන්නද කියලා අහන්න පුළුවන්. Yeah? Right. Can you try this question? Fixed cost එක 600,000. Selling price එක 50. Variable cost එක 30. ඒ දෙකේ difference එක 20. So 600,000 divided by 20, answer is 30,000. ඒක තමයි original break even. දැන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? දැන් මෙයා කියනවා sales price increase from 50 to 60. Now the new selling price is 60. Variable cost as it is, no change, 30. So the contribution is, new contribution is 30. The other 600,000 bedan none 30 වලින්. The answer කෙනවා 20,000 units. කලින් කීයද 30,000 units. දැන් කීයද 20,000 units. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට relationship එකක් create වෙනවා. මොකද්ද relationship එක? fixed cost එක හරි variable cost per unit එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා cost එක වැඩි වුණොත් correlationship එකක් තියෙනවා. fixed cost එක හරි variable cost per unit අපි කියනවා fixed cost එක. cost එක වැඩි වුණොත් break even එක වැඩි. ඒ කියන්නේ you have a positive correlationship between these two variables. cost එකයි break even. selling price එකයි break even units අතර තියෙන්නේ inverse relationship එක. හරිද? negative relationship. ඒ කියන්නේ selling price එක වැඩි වුණොත් break even එක අඩු. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් break even එක වැඩි වෙන එකද හොඳ අඩු වෙන එකද හොඳ? Can you tell me the answer? As a businessman, you like to increase the break even units or decrease the break even units? What's the answer? Answer is decrease. Break even එක අඩු වෙන තරමට තමයි මිනිස්සු කැමති. So that you can get a good margin or profit. හරිද? Right. Now write down on next question, next formula. මේ formula එක ලියා ගන්න. This is break even in units. Next write it down. Break even in rupees. Or we call break even revenue. Break even revenue equal break even units times selling price per unit. Break even in rupees and other revenue, we can calculate break even in units. It is this answer. Then it went up answer, right? Multiply by selling price or fixed cost divided by CS ratio. You have two formulas. මේ answer එක වැඩි කරනවා selling price. එහෙම නැත්නම් fixed cost divided by CS ratio. හරිද? Next, write it down. Another formula. This is third one. This is fifth. Number of units required to achieve target. Number of units required to achieve target profit. The formula is, take the first formula, I'll update you the new amendment. අරකම තමයි fixed cost over contribution per unit plus target profit. ඒකට add කරනවා target profit. Fixed cost plus target profit over contribution per unit. Or estimated revenue achieve target profit. මේක එහෙමම එනවා divide by CS ratio. Or this answer multiplied by selling price per unit. ටික ලියන්න. Now let's look at this example here. The fixed costs are estimated at 200,000 rupees and the desired profit is 100,000. Fixed cost take 200,000, desired or target profit take 100,000. Unit selling price is 75, variable cost is 45. Firm wishes to make 100,000 profit. What are the 200,000 plus 100,000 that divide by contribution margin. So how we calculate? Answer is 10,000. Answer is 10,000. There is a slight revision. Clear? Then below make a hurry here. 10,000 into 75, 750,000. 10,000 into 45, 450,000. Contribution margin is 300,000. You can add fixed cost again. So profit is 100,000. Right. Now we come to graphical approach. You can formula approach one aspect of elaborating the cost value profit analysis. In addition to that, you use graph to understand this concept. Okay, so just write it down. There are three types of graph. Write this down. There are three types of graphs to be learned. Number one, traditional break-even chart. Number 2, contribution break-even chart. Number 3, profit volume chart. Traditional break-even chart, contribution break-even chart, and profit volume chart. Let's look at this example. Selling price is 50, variable cost is 30, fixed cost is 100,000. What do you box? Unit selling price 50, variable cost 30, fixed cost 100,000. Write it down, selling price per unit, variable cost per unit, fixed cost for the month. Information. අපි බලමු එක එක units levels වල මේ තියෙන information එක apply කරනවා. හරිද? Unit sold 0, 4,000, 3,000. We calculate this one, revenue, variable cost, fixed cost, total cost, profit. What you calculate කරන්න බලන්න හැමෝම. මේටික ලියලා calculate කරන්න. Quantity sold 0 වෙද්දී revenue එක කීයද? 4,000 වෙද්දී revenue එක කීයද? 8,000 වෙද්දී revenue එක කීයද? Variable cost එක ඒ විදිහට calculate කරන්න. Fixed cost එක බලන්න. Total cost එක කීයද? Profit එක කීයද? Slash loss. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. Calculate එකක් අරගෙන පුළුවන් විදිහට කරන්න බලන්න. Do first one, okay? Sales quantity is 0, වැඩි කරන්න ඕනේ 50 වලින් 0. 4,000 වැඩි කරන්න 50 වලින් 200,000. 8,000 වැඩි කරන්න 50 වලින් ඒ වගේ double 400,000. මම first එක කරා අනික ඒවා ටික කරන්න. Right. Variable cost 0 for the first one and multiplied with 30. Fixed cost all levels remain constant. Remember, make a material. One other question. Yes, that total cost, variable plus fixed. Variable component fixed component. Profit, revenue minus what you got? The information tika. The traditional break-even chart එකේදී අපිට ඕන වෙන revenue line එක fixed cost and total cost line. ඔය lines තුන තමයි traditional එකට ඕන. And go through your, just copy this one. So here, this is traditional one. So it start from the beginning, the zero origin. Origin can start in our revenue curve. It's called sales. And then you have a total cost curve. So total cost curve start with a fixed cost line. The fixed cost line is parallel to the x-axis. Fixed cost line and this is the revenue curve, a line, and this is total cost curve. So you can find some place where total cost curve intersect the revenue curve. So that's called break-even point. Ek pahalata drag karam in our break-even in units. And if you put it in this way, it's break-even rupees revenue. Very clear. So this shaded area, that means area right next to your break-even point is called profit area. And in left-hand side, below the break-even point, it's a loss area. Okay, so shall we have a look in from this presentation? So draw the total revenue, and then you draw the total cost, and point where revenue curve or revenue line intersects the total cost line, that's called break-even point, and drag down this down to figure out the break-even sales, and left it's break-even revenue. And the break-even units is 5,000. Break-even revenue is 200,000. Okay. And this is the profit area, operating profit area, and this is operating loss. Make it clear? Right. Devini chart එක ලියන්න contribution break-even chart. Contribution break-even chart එකේදීත් ඕන වෙන්නේ revenue එක. You need revenue. Line එක ඕනෙමයි. And you don't need the fixed cost. Total cost එක ඕනේ. Variable cost එක ඕනේ. ඒ තුන තමයි ඕනේ. So contribution break-even chart එකේදී revenue line එක ඕනේ, variable cost line එක ඕනේ, total cost line එක ඕනේ. හරිද? Fixed cost එක ඕනේ. Revenue line එක, total cost line එක common for both. Variable cost එක තමයි replace වෙන්නේ fixed cost එක. හරිද? So shall we have a look from your teacher's guidance book? So revenue line එක තියෙනවා, total cost line එක තියෙනවා. ඒ දෙක point වෙන තැන තමයි break even එක, and then you have a variable cost. Now you can figure out easily there is two parallel lines in between these two. හරිද? parallel lines දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් කියලා total cost එක, අනික කියලා variable cost. මේ දෙකේ gap එක represent කරන්නේ fixed cost එක. Is it clear? Okay, next write it down. Profit volume chart. Next, write it down. Profit volume chart. Profit volume chart එකේ තියෙන්නේ profit line එක විතරයි. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට ඕනේ මේ calculation එකේ අන්තිම ටික. ඉන්න මේ line එක තමයි. Profit volume එකට අපිට ඕනේ units ටිකයි profit line profit. හරිද? So shall we have a look here? So relevant range එක තියෙනවා. ඒක start වෙන්නේ fixed cost එකෙන්. ඒ කියන්නේ zero level එකේදී loss එක එනවා. ඒ loss එක equal වෙනවා fixed cost එකට. හරිද? zero level එකේ loss එක equal වෙනවා fixed cost. And the profit line intersect your x-axis is your break-even point. ඒක මතක තියාගන්න. Profit line එක x-axis එක කැපෙන තැන තමයි break-even point එක වෙන්නේ. Right. So break-even එකට right hand section එක ඇවිල්ලා operating profit area එක left side එක operating loss area. Right. Now write this down. Margin of safety. Margin of safety. Write this down. The formula. The formula here. Margin of safety in units. Margin of safety in units equal actual or budgeted units minus break-even units. In actual units, so break-even units අතර වෙනස අපි කියනවා margin of safety in units. There is another term, margin of safety in rupees or revenue. මේ answer එක වැඩි කරනවා selling price. මේ ආපු උත්තරේ වැඩි කරනවා selling price per unit or actual or budgeted sales unit sales revenue minus break even sales billion. Break even sales revenue. Actual sales or budget sales minus sales at break-even point over sales calculate. So this represents the possible decrease in sales that may occur before operating loss. The assumptions can be tested to a certain extent. The reliability of cost volume profit analysis depends on several assumptions. Number one, total sales and cost are represented by a straight line. It's not a curvy linear lines, it's a straight line. Within the relevant range, operating activity, its efficiency of operations may not change. Cost can be accurately divided into fixed and variable elements. Sales mix is constant and there is no change in inventory. Basically, whatever quantity you produced can be sold. Okay, so this is the overall, I would say the formulas. So contribution per unit, is equal total contribution divided by number of units, or selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit, or profit divided by margin of safety in units. Ini kalau formula. Yeah. CS ratio, total contribution over sales revenue, contribution per unit over selling price per unit, should be selling. Okay, sorry for this. And profit over margin of sales. Profit over margin of sales. Break-even units, fixed cost divided by contribution per unit, break-even revenue, break-even units multiplied by selling price, or fixed cost over CS ratio. Margin of safety in units, actual units over minus break-even sales in units, or profit over contribution per unit. Margin of safety in revenue, margin of safety in units multiplied by selling price per unit, or actual sales minus break-even sales, or profit over CS ratio. Profit equal total contribution minus fixed cost, or margin of safety in units into contribution per unit, or margin of safety in rupees into CS ratio. Right. We'll do a couple of past paper questions so that you get some ideas. Before moving to the past paper, we'll figure out some questions in past paper. So give me a minute. This 2020 paper, as I told you earlier, the question number 29 come from this area. So can you try question number 29? I'll give you time. Take your time. Don't worry about the timing now. Take your time. Question number 29. I need everyone to attend. Which of the following statements are correct in relation to the cost volume profit analysis? Assume that other factors relevant to each following situation remain constant. Decrease in unit contribution. Okay, so if you are not sure about, you use some kind of a calculator. Divide by 10. Okay, the break even 10,000. And then decrease in unit contribution. Assume 100,000 as it is. Unit contribution එක අඩු වෙනවා. හිතන්න එක 5යි කියලා. So answer is 20,000. Earlier break even units ටික 10,000, then 20,000. වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? වැඩි වෙන. මෙතන කියන්නේ අඩු වෙලා. So this is out. So when you get this one confirmed, බලන්න ඕනේ ඒ තියෙන ඒවා වැරදි. ඒ අනුව මේක out. Is wrong. It's also wrong. So ඔයාගේ answer එක narrate and focus වෙනවා only for first එකයි second එකයි fourth එක. The A is out. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ increase in contribution to sales ratio will lead to decrease in break-even point in value. Increase in CS ratio. ඒක sure නැත්නම් ගන්න example. 100,000. 100,000 ඕනෙත් නැත්නම් 1000 ගන්නවා. 0.5. ඒ 10යි උත්තරේ. 1000 බෙදනවා 0.5. හරිද? ඒක වැඩි වෙනවා. ගන්න 0.1 කියලා ගන්නවා. 1000 will take like this. 1000 ගන්න 1000 බෙදන්න this is the original, okay? 0.25. Answer is 4,000. 1000 බෙදන්න 0.5 වැඩි වෙනවනේ. break even එක increase in contribution to sales ratio leads to decrease in break even in value. ඒක හරිනේ. මේක increase වෙනවා. value එක අඩු වෙනවා. So this one is correct. එතකොට B තියෙන එක අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම උත්තරයක් විදිහට එන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට A යනවා දෙකත් out. දැන් C බලන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. C කියවන්න ඕනෙත් නැහැ. එතකොට මේ දෙකේම C තියෙනවා. ඔයා බලන්න ඕනේ D කියන එක මොකක්ද? Increase in unit selling price lead to decrease in break-even point. So already study කරලා තියෙනවා නම් අර relationship එක. මොකද relationship එක cost එකයි break-even එකයි අතර තියෙන්නේ positive correlationship එකක්. selling price එකයි break-even එක අතර තියෙන්නේ inverse relationship එකක්. මේක increase make a decrease. This is also correct. So the answer is 4th. Just we say paper එක පොඩ්ඩක් අමාරුයි. 2020 paper එක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට base වෙන year එක තමයි 2020 paper එක. 2021 වලට base උනේ 19 paper එක. ඔයගොල්ලෝ if you are doing any sort of a analysis, trend analysis බලන්න 19 paper එකේ 21 paper එකේ තියෙන similarities. Very important. So ඔයගොල්ලෝ 2022 කරන හින්දා 20 paper එක base කරගෙන study කරමු. හරිද? Right. We'll move on to the other questions pertaining to this area. That's in structured question, most probably 49 question. Please try. And we'll have them attempt kara. හැමෝම කරන්න වැරදුනට කමක් නැහැ. Please try. Everyone, we need to try. Please do underline the important items. for each person. 1,500 for each participant. So, a welfare society is organizing an awareness program on environment protection for people residing in flats. A media organization has agreed to pay the welfare society 200 for each person participating in this program. The welfare society has to incur a cost of 1,500 for each participant. So, මෙතන cost object එක ඇවිල්ලා participant. සමහර questions are tricky. හරිද? Cost object එක ඇවිල්ලා units නෙමෙයි. හරි? Each participant. So, එයාට එන price එක තමයි 2,000. එයාට incur කරන cost එක තමයි 1,500. And the other estimated expenses are given below. So here, hiring charges for conference hall, meal expenses of resource persons, and advertising expenses. So may automatic, irrespective of the number of participants, you have to incur anyway. So these are called fixed costs. Contribution per participant. So that is selling price minus variable cost, which is 500. Fixed cost per program of the program 45 plus 9, 55. Sorry, 54, 54 plus 6, 60,000. So 60,000 divided by 500. Is okay, right. We'll move on to 19th paper. I'm asking a question. How do we find? What do you mean by find? I mean papers or what? I can understand what you're put in the chat box. Papers, yeah. You go to any Google and just make a you can take any paper. 2020 paper ka tina Google. Let's say 2020 A-level accounting English medium. Net there are a lot of things. GCA level pass English medium 2015 to 20. That's called Tamilnet, tamilguru.lk. And there is something called A-level-api.com. Marking schemes hari. So that's why you need to aware those things. And some student doesn't have, probably they don't have a couple of students. They don't have the past papers. The past papers antim mohota wenakan inne pa karan. Please do now itself. What really happened when I talk to a couple of students, they go for 2-3 classes and they don't have time to do past papers. Remember, the starting point for this paper is doing papers by your own. Aniyama papers karan. Barina marking scheme එක බලන්න, answers ටික බලන්න, ඒ gap එක fill කරන්න. That part is must for you, especially for 2022 students. හරිද? මේ පාර A-level කරන කට්ටියට අනිවාර්යයි, if you want to get a good score, please ඔක්කොම තියෙනේව නවත්තලා බලන්න ඔයාට class paper එකක් තනියම කරන්න පුළුවන්. බැරි නම් මොකක්ද ඒකට හේතුව ඒක figure out කරන්න. ඒක ඒ gap එක fill කරන්න. නැත්නම් class යන එක අනවශ්‍ය විදිහට එහෙම study කරන එක නෙමෙයි වෙන්නේ. දැන් පාඩම් කරන්න කියලා කියන්න දෙයක් නැහැ මේක. මේකේ තියෙන ගණන් කරන්න. There are only few things that you need to memorize, especially accounting standards, the application part, and some sort of a basic understanding. ටිකක් තමයි පාඩම් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. මේකේ ගත්තොත් formulas ටික, assumptions ටික, those type of things. ඊට පස්සේ තියෙන්නේ application. You need to apply your knowledge in the form of questions, basically the numerics part, calculations part. Counting තියෙන හැමතිස්සෙම time එකත් එක්ක බල බල කරන්න තියෙනවා. So ඔයගොල්ලන්ට plus point එකක් තියෙනවා calculators තියෙනවා. මේකින්ද පොඩ්ඩක් practice කරන්න. calculators use කරන එක time මේ කියන්නේ speed කරන්නේ කොහොමද ගණන් අන්න ඒ වගේ දේවල් practice කරන්න. Right, we'll move on to it's there 2020 21 even it's there. Yeah, 21 is there still. Yes. කොහොම තියෙනවා. Sometimes English medium. You can download. Okay. So marking scheme එකත් එක්කම ගන්න බලන්න. Then you know what exactly how you can get more marks. Right? I'm not promoting any site, but I want to help you to figuring out to get the papers. Because some students are claiming that they don't have kind of a what you call books because of the lack of papers. But still, try to download and try your best to do it. Right. So shall we do question number 29? Please try this question. මේ past papers කරන එකේ වාසිය තමයි ඒකෙන් learning එකක් එන්නේ. Everyone please attempt. Focus on these two papers. That's the answer. Which of the following statements are correct at the break-even point? Total contribution equal to total fixed cost. අපි ඒක third point එක විදිහට ලියාගත්තා නම් ඒක හරියි. ඒ කියන එක එනවා. එතකොට fourth එක out. Total sales income equal to total fixed cost. B out. Total sales income to total fixed cost. B කියන එක out. එතකොට මේකත් out. මේකත් out. මේකත් out. දැන් තේරෙනව නේද exam එකේදී සමහරලාට ඔයගොල්ලෝ unnecessary විදියට time එක waste කරනවා. හරි අනිත් දෙකත් අපි කියමු. The sum of total fixed cost and total variable cost is equal to total sales income. දැන් මේ statements දෙක contradictory. මේ statement දෙක contradictory. එතකොට එකක් වැරදි එකක් හරි. ඒක මතක තියාගන්න. දැන් මෙතන කියනවා total sales income is equal to total fixed cost. මෙතන කියනවා equal to total sales income. Sum of total fixed cost and total variable cost. So මේක contradictory හින්දා එකක් වැරදි. මේක වැරදි. B out. C එනවා උත්තරේ. ඒත් එනවා. උත්තරේ දෙක. D fixed cost per unit equal to variable cost per unit. කොහෙත් මදාලා totally out. හරිද? අපි එනවා ඊට පස්සේ question number 49. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ structure එක තේරෙන්න ඕනේ. දැන් මේකෙන් එන්නේ ප්‍රශ්න දෙකයි. එහෙම නැත්නම් තුනයි. හරිද? 29 වෙනි question එක MCQ වල structured question එකේ 49 වෙනි question එක. Yeah, this one. Please try this question. Then මෙතනදී බලන්න ඕනේ මේ අහන්නේ contribution per participant. ඒතර cost object එක ඇවිල්ලා participant. The participant අදාළ වියදම් participant අදාළ ආදාය, or the revenue per participant or sales value per participants and the cost per participants කියන එක වෙනම ගන්න. Per participants තියෙන්නේ මොනවාද? Per participant. දැන් මට කියන්නේ contribution per participants කීයද? තමයි කරන්න බලන්න. වැරදුනාට කමන්නේ. වරද්ද තමයි හදා ගන්න ඕනේ වැරදි. නැත්නම් මේක ඉබේම පහළ වෙන්නේ නැහැ knowledge. මේ questions කරලා වැරදි කර තමයි learning එන්නේ. Ideally you should learn from the others mistakes. හරිද? So how we do this? 1,500 is a fee. That is income. Taking අඩු කරන්න 500. Answer is 1,000. Fixed cost of the seminar. දැන් මෙතන මෙයා highlight කරලා තියෙනවා 3 hours seminar එකක් තියෙන්නේ. Hall charges දීලා තියෙන්නේ per hour. Lecture fees දීලා තියෙන්නේ per hour. ඒ දෙකේ එකතුව කීයද? per hour නේ තියෙන්නේ 25,000. 25,000 වැඩි කරන්න 3 hours වලින්. ඒතකොට එනවා 75,000. So answer for this one is 75. Sorry, 75 plus 25 instead. 75 දෙනවා මේ දෙකේ එකතුව. ඒකට add කරන්න 25. So answer is 100,000. A number of participants required to cover the total cost. Take simply a break even in units. So 100,000 divided by 1,000. See here. You had it. Okay. So in part 2, you will get another question. So product practice. So I don't want to. So what in today's lecture, what I thought was. To get an idea, some students might have already done this in their schools or classes or whatever thing, but if you cover these areas probably in a couple of days time, so you have ample time to study the rest of the areas and do past paper questions so that you get some idea. So that is my main focus in this process. Okay, so I'm a chartered accountant and plus management accountant. So if you want to carry out kind of after your A-levels, probably CMA, it's a less cost course, and you might be able to get a degree as well if you finish this couple of stages. And in the meantime, I would like to help. I would like to thank all the teachers who inform the students in doing joining this. The seminar today. So I hope it's a fruitful effort, and I hope my contribution and towards this seminar so that you can get more kind of understanding and more awareness of the concepts for this chapter. So any doubts or any sort of questions that you need a clarification, I'll just write my number in case if you need any sort of help for any, this is my number. 77-222-669. So if you need any sort of help in understanding the questions and the approach, so feel free to contact me regarding this number. Okay, so important thing is, I know as far as the students batch are concerned, so you almost all, I would say the majority of your time is with online education. and sometimes you might not have the practice of doing papers. So starting point, please do approach questions. ලියන්න බලන්න practice එක වැඩි කරන්න questions කරන speed එක දැම්ම worry වෙන්න එපා. speed එක පස්සේ හදාගන්න. First you get the concept right. Concept කියන එක වැදගත් වෙනවා. We'll have another session on how to approach the company accounting questions where most of the students are struggling. And you are supposed to complete that type of question within 40 to 45 minutes. And there are some certain strategies that you need to follow. Okay, so we'll discuss that as well. So I hope and understand the concept in today's class. And if you have any doubts, feel free to talk at any time. Okay? Yeah. So if you-
Thank you, sir.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි සර් අද අපිත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වුණාට. අද පැවැත්වුණේ accounting seminar එක. ඉතින් නැවත වතාවක් අපි අශාන් සර්ට අපේ හදපිරි ස්තුතිය පුද කරනවා. ඒ වගේම කියන්න ඕනේ නැනපවර නිර්මාතෘ ප්‍රභාත් නලිත තිලකරත්න සර්ගේ සංකල්පයක් යටතේ ක්‍රියාත්මක වන මෙම වැඩසටහන සියලුම පාසල්වල ආචාර්ය මණ්ඩලය නැනපවර ෆවුන්ඩේෂන් එකත් සමග එකතු වෙලා ඉන්නවා. ඒ වගේම එතුමන් විසින් උසස් පෙළ විෂය ධාරාවන් වල සියලුම විෂයන් සඳහා සිංහල, ඉංග්‍රීසි, දෙමළ යන මාධ්‍ය තුනෙන්ම දේශන සංවිධානය කර ඇති බවත් අපි සතුටින් දැනුම් දෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඉදිරි දේශන ගැන දැනගන්න ඔයගලන්ට පුළුවන් අපේ Telegram group එකට සම්බන්ධ වන්න. මම ඒකේ නම්බර් එක කියන්නම්. Telegram ඔස්සේ මැසේජ් එකක් දාන්න 07117 725යි 735 07117 725යි 735. ඒ වගේම ඕගලන්ගේ අද දින සම්බන්ධ වෙන බැරි වුණ යාළුවෝ ඉන්නවා නම් ඒගලන්ට කියන්න නැනපෝර YouTube channel එකෙන් අද පාඩම බලන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඒ වගේම ඕගලන්ටත් යම් කිසි දෙයක් අද පාඩමේ අතපසු වෙලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒකත් YouTube channel එකෙන් බලන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම අපේ YouTube channel එක subscribe කරන්න අමතක කරන්නත් එපා. එහෙනම් නැවත වතාවක් අද හරවත් දේශනය පැවැත්වූ අපේ අශාන් සර්ට අපේ හදපිරි ස්තුතිය ප්‍රකාශ කර සිටිනවා.
Good night and stay safe. God bless you.
Being a chartered engineer, acquiring membership from certified management accountants supported me immensely to become a chief executive officer of a reputed company. CME is not only producing professional certified accountants, they have been developing their skills through continuous professional development programs. CMA is keen to develop their communication skills as well through their CMA program.
CMA for creating the pathway to being a world-recognized management accountant.